watching Fox 35 News Plus, streaming on Fox Local.
Well, good afternoon to you. Welcome back into Fox 35 News Plus. I'm Garrett Weimer, and thanks for joining us here on this Monday afternoon, live on Fox Local and on YouTube. That Council on Foreign Relations discussion about foreign policy challenges and U.S. national security. It is continuing right now. If you'd like to see more coverage of that, you can flip on over to Live Now from Fox. They're continuing to listen in on that conversation going on live right now in Washington, D.C. We want to shift gears now here at the top of the hour and focus in on some things happening here in the state of Florida. I do want to bring your attention to something that we talked about last week, quite a bit near the end of the week, and that's open carry here in the state of Florida. I want to show you this tweet from Attorney General James Uthmire from earlier today, a couple of hours ago, saying that he is issuing guidance to Florida's prosecutors and law enforcement in light of the First District Court of Appeals decision in that case that essentially struck down the state's ban on open carry. He says because no other appellate court has considered the constitutionality of Florida's open carry ban since the SCOTUS decision in Bruin, the first DCA's decision is binding on all Florida's trial courts, meaning that as of last week, open carry is the law of the state. Now, if you were with us last week, we did hear from Flagler County Sheriff Rick Staley, who talked about how his office was going ahead and handling this by not enforcing the state's open carry ban. A couple of other sheriffs had kind of said the same thing. Now, word coming from the Attorney General's office offering guidance to law enforcement agencies, prosecutors, basically telling them that the law of the land here is that open carry is now allowed. Again, this is the memo here that you're seeing. The Attorney General posting this on Twitter. If you'd like to read that full thing, you can find that on @James Uthmire, the Attorney General's page on X. So that is something we are continuing to monitor here this afternoon. We also want to take you to a service, a vigil that happened over the weekend in the Tampa area, where a Tampa area religious leaders were holding what they called a rally of solidarity with prayer vigils surrounding Florida's illegal immigration detention centers. Obviously, the one that has gotten the most attention is Alligator Alcatraz in Dade and Collier counties. They've actually been these groups have been having weekly vigils on Sunday afternoons ever since early August. So something they've been doing for several weeks now, protesting the treatment of detainees at these detention facilities and leveling the strongest of their criticisms against Alligator Alcatraz, talking about the lack of access to pastors and religious services as well at these facilities. Here is what the executive director and lead organizer of one of these organizations leading this service and this push had to say about that at that event yesterday afternoon.
SURE is unique because it's a coalition of different congregations, different faith-based organizations that come together to talk about what's on their heart, what's unjust within the community, and then within that listening process, we research how we're going to get to the bottom of the problem and see and focus on who we could identify as in policymakers or officials, public officials, that we can speak to about negotiating how we can fix that problem. So it's there's quite a few events that go on throughout the year, but it culminates in what we call the Nehemiah Action, and that happens in March. So this year, whenever we speak to whatever public official we identify that could fix the problem that we vote on, then we would bring him or her, invite them to that public witness. So there have been 300 people, there have been 1,000 people, and it's all the members of the different congregations that will lead this and ask that official, will you agree to this? It's really getting to the root of the problem and getting someone to make those solutions possible.
Now, I know the subject tonight is the detention camps.
Correct.
In Florida and beyond.
Right.
Have you guys covered any other events? Have you focused on any other topics and issues?
Yes, so we have also started what is the Moral Monday in unison with Repairers of the Breach. It's a national movement. So we've been able to deliver a report to Representative Stubbe's office. So I want to focus that we are nonpartisan. It's just a report about what's happening within Sarasota County, how that bill at the time and now law is affecting the constituents within this county.
Yeah, so I mean specifically now with these detention camps, tell me about what exactly you guys are gathered here for.
So I mentioned that I am part of SURE, but also we are part of a interfaith coalition within Florida that kind of came up in a grassroots nature in response to what's going on at the Everglades. So my purpose is just to try to get all of the different congregations and the different people of faith and conscience to come and lament what's happening, and then also gain access to those detention centers. Because as of right now, there have been many faith leaders that have tried to gain access because regardless of legal status, we believe that everybody deserves the right to receive pastoral care or spiritual care. And that's not happening. I know that what we understand is that there was a Catholic priest that was able to gain access or to offer that, but we would like that to be offered across the board, and we haven't been able to do so. So we're trying to have as many clergy sign a letter so that we can gain access, or they can gain access.
And as someone a part of this organization, what has it kind of been like seeing all of this kind of play out? It seems like there's a new development every single day.
That's exactly right.
Some of it is jarring for
yes.
some people are for it. What's your kind of stance with this?
So you're absolutely right that it's jarring. It's overwhelming, and I just feel very fortunate to be part of a community that seems so focused on what can we do? Let's find a solution. And what I have to say is I did go visit and attend the prayer vigil at the Everglades. And in spite of what we may see in the news, we are seeing that there is so much support for things like this for those detainees. So the majority of the drivers that were going by, it was lots of honks of support, lots of just we're with you. I feel like there is just so much unity. That's what I'm very fortunate to see. I mean, this is only the third vigil we've had in Sarasota, and it's growing. Every week we see new people that are reaching out to me via text, email, phone calls, saying, how can we help? Can we make a flyer? Can we share it on Facebook? Is there a social media post that I can make, because this is important. People need to see this and be a part of this.
Now, just to be clear, I know you mentioned, wanting for clergy to gain access to these detainment camps, for them to have access to prayer and everything. Mm-hmm. But is your stance, are you okay with the detainment camps? You just want them to have access, or is there more that you're kind of...
So, like I said, we're nonpartisan, so we understand that it's a legal issue and they are weighing their options, but as of right now, what we're trying to stand for is the dignity of all human beings, that we need to be able to offer that care. We need to be able to stand for people as human beings, and that it's morally wrong. What's happening right now is morally wrong.
And how many congregations do you have here at this event?
So every time we've come, it's been different amounts. We've counted 12, 14 people that aren't even part of SURE but have learned about the vigils. And so that's why, I'm excited that so many people are coming and learning about this, so they can still say, hey, we want to pray with you regardless of denomination.
And if you could maybe send a message to those leaders who are, behind these detainment camps at this time, what would that be?
That regardless of what they believe is legal or not correct when in terms of the laws of this country, we do believe that every human being needs to be treated with dignity, and every human being does deserve, by law, their right to pray, their right to have that spiritual or pastoral care, regardless of their ability to see or not see. The detainees know we are here. They know that the prayer vigil is going on at the Everglades. They know that there are prayer vigils that are popping up all over the state and all over the country. So it's important whenever you feel like this is it, there's nothing else, and there's a little glimpse of hope, I think this is very important.
So today we are having a prayer vigil for immigrant justice. The vigil is going to focus a bit both on prayer, a litany of commitment about what we as both religious and civic leaders are committing to do when it comes to immigrant justice. We're also going to hear a story from the perspective of Pharaoh, which I think should be fun and fascinating. And additionally, also hearing Justice Sonia Sotomayor's dissent on the most recent shadow docket case in regards to immigrants. So we'll also have a chance to dissent alongside of her and alongside of many across the country who believe what's happening currently in regards to immigrants is inhumane.
Now, you guys have had these prayer events before, right?
Yes, we've had prayer vigils before. It's in what's the word I'm looking for here? It's an accompaniment with the vigils that are happening at Alligator Alcatraz, as it's called, Alligator Alcatraz. So it's our local version of being in solidarity with the vigil happening there, and hopes to continue to bring awareness both locally, statewide, and nationwide of what's going on here in Florida.
What do you see what's going on?
I see immigrants being talked about without dignity, without humanity. More importantly, I think as a religious leader, I am really preoccupied with how do we treat people with dignity, with care, with compassion. If there is an argument for legal status, part of that is that the legal way is the legal weight. There are people who are wanting to come here legally and they cannot. But outside of that, there's also people, either fear is driving self-deportation, mass ICE raids, and it's just culture of fear. I'm reminded of what we hear in Scripture, that perfect love casts out fear. And here we're being driven by a fear-driven narrative. And that's really what's kind of preoccupying me. How do we then care and love our neighbors, especially our immigrant neighbors? And loving our neighbor is not dependent on citizenship status.
And Michelle was mentioning, like, a big thing for you guys is clergy not having access. These immigrants who are in these detention camps are unable to, have access to a pastor and pray. Can you kind of talk through about what the power of prayer might mean to these immigrants right now?
Yeah, I think it reminds me a bit of my chaplaincy work. What does it mean to be in solidarity with people, and what does it mean to then be not given access to even be in rooms with people where their stories can be told, where their prayer concerns could be shared, that we can then go back to our faith communities and say, we have the opportunity to hear the stories of so-and-so. We prayed with them and we want to join them in prayer. Not having even access to hear their stories, to hear what's going on, but to be in prayer with them, regardless of how the whole process goes, not even being able to accompany them is part of a really huge issue, to be denied access. When you're at a hospital, you can get a chaplain. Where you're at a prison, there's a prison chaplain. To not be able to even have someone, to not have the opportunity to be able to have someone come in and pray with you, is a big injustice.
And when you're doing these prayer events, what are the emotions kind of felt in the space?
That's a good one. I think even if I'm thinking of even like later right now, I'm hoping that people will sense both the grief and the trauma that immigrants, the immigrant community, family of immigrants, friends of immigrants are feeling, the weight of both the culture of fear, the culture of just wish you could even go to the grocery store and not being afraid, while also saying, you know what, we don't want to live in this type of world. We want to be people who shape a world where the immigrant is our neighbor, where that we can see each other with human dignity. So I sense that it's both a holding space for that trauma and that grieving of what's going on, especially with this injustice, but also equipping people with lens that they are empowered to be the good in the world we're wanting to see.
Here's a live look right now at downtown Orlando, and I should note that in the next half hour, around 1:30, we are expecting to hear from Blazin Golia, the state CFO, holding a news conference in Orlando about government accountability and wasteful spending, according to the media advisory. We don't know exactly what he's going to be speaking about. We do know that the state has launched DOGE audits of Orange County and of the city of Orlando, so unclear what this might exactly be in connection with. We do know that the state has also issued investigative subpoenas against several county workers over what they said was a lack of cooperation with those audits. So unclear if this might be some sort of update on that. Again, we are waiting to see what the CFO has to say. Around 1:30 is when that is expected. We will bring that to you live here on Fox Local. We're going to take a quick break, but we'll be right back.
You're watching Fox 35 News Plus, streaming on Fox Local.
Welcome back into Fox 35 News Plus. I'm Garrett Weimer, and thanks for joining us on this Monday afternoon. Let's give you a live look at the stock market here. The Dow Jones down just a little bit. Actually, when we went into break, it was up just a little bit. So a little bit of fluctuation here you can see throughout the day, and we're still a couple of hours away from the closure of the stock market on this Monday afternoon. Well, grocery prices, meanwhile, are up about 2% over the past year, and that's on top of what we saw a pretty significant jump between 2020 and 2024. You're probably feeling it every time you go to the grocery store and go to check out. So how can you save some money when it comes to those grocery bills that just seem to keep growing? Ted Rossman is a senior analyst with Bankrate, and he was on Good Day Orlando this morning to give us some advice.
You know, here's the thing that I tend to do when I'm hungry is when I go shopping, and that's probably what I should not do. I should not be shopping on an empty stomach, right? So that's the first thing to keep in mind. What are some others?
I'm a big fan of using rewards credit cards. As long as you pay them off right away, you're going to avoid interest and you can get all the benefits like rewards and other buyer protections. American Express has a card, the Blue Cash Preferred, that gives 6% back at grocery stores. And that's up to $6,000 a year in grocery spending. So if you max that out, that's $360 in rewards. And that can really be beneficial. So one idea would be if you're using a different credit card or cash or debit, move over to this card, lower your grocery bill essentially by 6%.
Which is great, but a lot of people don't like to use their credit cards because they may not be able to pay it off every month. They may forget. You start to accrue more debt, right? And so what would you say in terms of managing that?
That's true. We definitely want to avoid the debt piece. This strategy really works best if you pay in full every month. Some things everybody can do. One would be to set a good list ahead of time. I mean, you talked about not shopping on an empty stomach. I mean, it's important to go in with a good plan for sure. They often say that the best deals are going to be either high on the shelf or low. Those products at eye level are often the most expensive name brands. So that's a little bit of a trick. Sometimes they say if you stick to the perimeter of the store, that's also going to be cheaper. That's also where you're going to find some of the fresher foods. It's often more of the processed, sort of expensive stuff in the middle. Anything that's been pre-cut, pre-packaged, I mean, that often costs more. You can do it yourself. You can buy in bulk. I mean, these are some things you can do to save.
Here's the other thing that I do. I go to different stores. I have my little, itinerary set out. I'm going here first, here second, here third. My BOGOs at Publix, that kind of thing. And so is it worth shopping around at different stores?
Absolutely. That's a great idea. Yeah, you really want to look at those store circulars and apps, and you can sort of mix and match. Join those store loyalty programs. Try to stack those discounts. Maybe you get a store discount and a manufacturer coupon, and maybe you do use that rewards credit card. I recently had a firsthand example of this. I was shopping for some spices, and at one store they were really expensive. It was like $30 for these 3 little containers. And then I happened to notice I was shopping later that day at a different store, and it was like $4 for the same stuff. It was an unbelievable difference. So I actually returned the stuff at the first store, and now I'm always going to buy spices at the second store. But, that's the kind of thing that sometimes you notice. Maybe dairy's on sale at one store and another one has a better meat selection or whatever it is. Yeah, sometimes mixing and matching can really save.
And so let's talk about those digital coupons, right? I don't really use as many coupons as perhaps I should, just because I find it a little laborious, a little cumbersome. But then there are also the reward programs. Are those programs worth it?
They are, yeah. Grocery loyalty programs are typically free, so you do want to join that store loyalty program. I know it's kind of annoying. Sometimes they want you to log in every week and download digital coupons in the app. Sometimes you don't know what you're going to buy. I actually find it's helpful sometimes to just sign up for all of them and just kind of click, add to account, because it's free. So, it takes a few minutes, but that can help you save. There are also other third-party cashback apps, things like DOGE and Ibotta, and different ways to save. So yeah, it helps to cast a wide net. Some stores will double manufacturers' coupons, so that can be a nice stacking idea. If you get a store coupon plus a manufacturer coupon, that can double dip.
And what about buying your produce in season?
Yeah, that's a good one too, is that, really sort of going where the deals are, and that might mean buying different things at different times of year, or if you do see something that's on a good sale, maybe you stock up on it. I mean, you don't want to go crazy because you don't need like 100 tubes of toothpaste, but sometimes if you do find some non-perishable things on sale, stock up. Definitely staying in season when it comes to fresh fruits and vegetables. Frozen foods are often just as nutritious or close to it, and they can cost a lot less. So that can be another way to save, especially if something is out of season, fresh. Maybe the frozen option is better.
A lot of good things there to keep in mind. Here is a live look at downtown Orlando on this Monday afternoon. Again, still awaiting the CFO, Blaise Ngolea, that we expect to begin speaking shortly. But we also learned that Orlando is the #1 city for Hispanic entrepreneurs. This is according to a Wallet Hub survey saying that more than 19% of businesses in Orlando are owned by Hispanic residents. Important to note that over the last 5 years, Orlando's Hispanic population has grown by nearly 30%. And the executive director of the Downtown Orlando Development Board was on Good Day Orlando this morning to talk about this new honor that Orlando is #1 when it comes to building successful businesses for Orlando entrepreneurs.
Why do so many Hispanic families in general and Hispanic businesses in particular choose to come to Central Florida?
I think there's a lot of reasons, but one of the big ones is really our community. Our community embraces diversity, it embraces culture. And I think what happens when they ultimately experience Orlando is they want to be a part of it, and they can see that vision that they have, that dream, actually be successful here. To add to that, we talk with a lot of business owners that have those different things that they want to bring to fruition, and we have a lot of programs to come around them. So though the financial hurdles of starting a business can seem arduous at times, we're really able to kind of join arms with them and kind of walk them through both the process to open a business, but also the other side of making sure that it's successful from day one and then on there forward into the future.
Entrepreneurship is not easy. I mean, no matter how you slice it, right? And one of the things you and I talked about off camera is that these businesses can go anywhere, not just in the country, but in the state of Florida. They can go to South Florida, they can go to North Florida. But are there special incentives, programs, things like that, that they can work closely with the city and counties with in order to achieve their dream?
Absolutely, there sure are. We're really excited about some of the programs that we've been able to kind of put together in recent years. One specifically for downtown Orlando, our DTO restaurant program can actually fund businesses up to $475,000 if they want to bring a fine dining establishment into downtown. We recently had Omar Torres. He was one of the head chefs at the Waldorf Astoria. Kind of come to us and say he wanted to start a business, and we were fortunate to bring him into downtown Orlando with his new establishment, Leah, which we just opened up a couple months ago. So it's a great component where we're able to come around businesses like Omar's.
And so you named some businesses that have come here and have been very successful. Those businesses you named are restaurants. Not an easy business by any stretch of the imagination, right? But they've chosen still to come to Orlando specifically. Why? Especially when you own a restaurant.
Yeah, so I think one of the big things that when we talk with, I mentioned Omar before, and when we talked with other businesses and restaurateurs, specifically what we have going on in the city right now is really a whole way to re-envision the future. I think they see themselves being a part of that. We're working on something called DTO 2.0 right now, which is an action plan that really transforms the center part of our city from building face to building face, new civic spaces, new roadways, new walkways. Think outdoor seating, right? Think sidewalk cafes, that ambiance that everyone just loves to be a part of, especially to eat. So I think that they see the trajectory, they see the vision, and they just want to be a part of it, and we're able to help them along the way.
And you talked about the diversity and beauty of Orlando. What is your hope for the future?
I think our hope is that we continue to have a space for everyone, not only in the City Beautiful, but in the surrounding area as well. We work really hard to make sure that everyone feels welcome, but also gets to showcase whatever their passion is to the community so the community can embrace them as well.
And we're going to take a quick break here on Fox 35 News Plus, but we'll be right back.
You're watching Fox 35 News Plus, streaming on Fox Local.
Welcome back into Fox 35 News Plus. Give you a live look as we finish kind of getting set up inside a restaurant equipment world in Orlando, where we expect to hear any minute now from CFO Blaise Ngolea, who is expected to hold a news conference in Orlando about government accountability and wasteful spending. Again, unclear what exactly this might be in connection to, whether it's the DOGE audit of Orlando or of Orange County. We do know, as I mentioned a little bit ago, that the state had issued investigative subpoenas to some employees of Orange County. They said that the county was not cooperating, that they were getting essentially scripted answers from some of the employees that they were trying to get information from. And so we know that was a step in that investigation, looking at the spending of Orange County. Again, unclear what exactly the details are of what the CFO has to say here shortly, but we will bring you inside that news conference as soon as it begins. Expected around 1:30. Clearly things running a little bit behind, but we will get you inside that news conference when it begins. Meanwhile, a restaurant in Orlando is starting essentially a new version of a Pulse Memorial Crosswalk. This comes after the state painted over the rainbow crosswalk outside of the Pulse nightclub. That happened last month, and a lot of reaction since then. Several people were arrested and faced charges even for chalking over and still adding some color to what was then turned into a black and white crosswalk. This is now happening on private property at a restaurant in Orlando, where we've seen vendors coming to support the installation of art for 49 different parking spaces that are now being colored with the colors of the rainbow. And Fox 35's Marley Capper has more on that story. She was out there this morning, actually, as the artists worked to add the color to those parking spots.
Good morning, everybody. Yeah, the parking lot is looking great out here. The paintings are looking incredible. I will say I went inside, but they want to support the vendors today, so they actually aren't open for business. But I did get to meet the owners of Pico Pico. This is like, what do you call this, a croffle?
Croffle, correct.
Okay, so it's a croissant waffle. I had one, Amy. These are insane. I had the ube one in the middle. It's literally like a croissant in a waffle press with ube cream, blueberries, and Biscoff cookies. It was amazing. Okay, this is Jason. You know, tell me a little bit about quickly why you wanted to be able to support today.
Yeah, so I've been living in Orlando for quite some time now, and it's a wonderful way to connect with the community, and food is just a great way to bring people together. So that's why today we came out and try to connect with the community and kind of showcase our food as a way to kind of open up the minds, I guess, to croffle, because a lot of people are not familiar with croffle, so this is a great opportunity.
I am now familiar, and I can confirm it is amazing. If you do stop by today and you get some of their food, they're actually going to give you, here, I'll grab one really quick. You'll get one of these chips, and then you can go vote on which painting you think is the best. And so I'm not sure what happens with the vote just yet. I'm still waiting to learn about that. But we're going to check back with you guys here in a few minutes. Thank you to Jason with Pico Pico for being one of the vendors that's supporting this today. And we'll show you some of the art that's almost finished. There's a few pieces that are like right there, so hopefully they'll be done by then.
Yeah, you can really see that art installation coming together there at 7 Bites in Orlando. 49 parking spots that they are looking to add that color to. We're continuing to learn more about and continuing to track, I should say, the fallout from the assassination of Charlie Kirk, and seeing reactions from a number of folks. We're now seeing consequences for some of the things that people have posted that may be crass or celebrating in some ways the death of Charlie Kirk, and seeing some pushback against that. We learned today an FWC employee has been fired. There have been several others, some university employees across the state, a neurologist with the University of Miami, a councilman in Palmetto Bay facing some pushback and under fire for some comments and posts that were shared on social media as well. And so last week as well, we saw that the Florida Education Commissioner Stasi Kamoutsas said he would hold teachers accountable, anyone who celebrated Charlie Kirk's death. We've also seen from the Attorney General and from the CFO Blaise Ngolea advocating to revoke immigrant visas for immigrants who celebrated Charlie Kirk's death. And so Fox 35's Randy Hildreth spoke with Anthony Sabatini. He's a commissioner in Lake County. He's also an attorney with experience in First Amendment law. And they talked about whether firings like this would hold up under the First Amendment.
I know that the education commissioner sent the letter yesterday about what can and cannot be said, and said that educators do have First Amendment rights, but the rights don't extend without limit to their professional duties. Is that or is that not enforceable? Does he have an argument there?
He's 100% right. It's not even debatable because employment is a privilege. And in the Florida Administrative Code, there are certain guidelines that teachers have to hit, that they have to basically contain themselves within. If not, they lose the employment. They can't be criminally held liable, but they would lose their employment. They could be fired if they're celebrating death. If they were just critical of Charlie Kirk in some abstract way, obviously, I don't think that's going to violate the Florida Administrative Code when it comes to educational standards. But if they're saying something like, I'm glad he's dead, that would be seen as offensive and unprofessional, and they could be fired. Yes.
Gotcha. For the other situation about visas, is that something that is enforceable or not?
Correct. Your visas are also a privilege. Anybody that was seen as celebrating death, somebody that was advocating for death, saying it was a good thing, like one teacher who had said that she was happy about this, that they want to see more of this, that could be grounds for the privilege of a temporary visa.
That was Fox 35's Randy Hildreth's conversation with Anthony Sabatini. This is actually an issue that we're going to look into more in our 2 o'clock hour and discuss with an attorney as well. Let me go ahead and get you live now to Restaurant Equipment World in Orlando, where we expect Blaise Ngolea, the Florida Chief Financial Officer, to begin speaking any minute now. He is being introduced right now, and we know he is inside the building there. Expect him to walk up and speak. The placard you see on the podium there says "Cut Government Waste." We do expect this news conference to be about wasteful spending. We know the CFO has been really focused in on that, looking at local governments across the state, including Orlando and Orange County. Let's go ahead and listen in as this news conference gets underway.
There was a huge article about how the county commissioners were very proud that they reduced the millage rate for 12 years in a row. That is unheard of to ever happen here in Florida up until now. Maybe we'll change that. Those commissioners were proud of the fact they were able to do that and still maintain quality schools and services. It is great to see Florida's Chief Financial Officer taking the time to address this situation and to fight for all Floridians to lower our property taxes and still maintain quality essential services. It is an honor to introduce and welcome Chief Financial Officer Blaise Ngolea. I apologize for that. I promised several times I wouldn't do that. My wife will really get after me now. Of the great state of Florida. Thank you.
Thank you for that, and don't worry about the last name. I often mess it up myself, so I'm good with you guys. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for coming. My name is Blaise Ngolea, and I am the CFO of the great state of Florida. A couple of things before we start. I know that there are some people in the room that we'd like to say hello to. We have our esteemed Senator Broder. We have two representatives, Representative Cobb and Representative Placencia. Thank you guys for coming. And I think you guys know just how much I care about our first responders. We do have some FOP leadership here. Jeff Stinson and Andrew Chenard, they're here. Where they are? They're in the back. Sorry. Thank you, guys. So before we start, Representative Yarkowski's in the back. And is Senator Trunow here? I heard he may be coming. Okay, we'll just fire him later. So before we start, I just want to make something clear. The information that we are going to be going over today, we're going to be revealing to the public and the taxpayers today is some high-level spending information that is compiled by my office to illustrate just how bad the spending has gotten here in Orange County. So when DOGE reports come out, which are going to be separate from what we're doing today, separate but combined, they are going to show the specific instances of wasteful spending. So today, it's high level, hopefully in layman's terms, so everyone can understand just how bad the spending is. And when you have bad spending, you have higher than what you should have in terms of property taxes. Housing affordability is a big issue here in the state of Florida. It's something that I have been going around the state talking about. We should talk about it more. And I think some of our speakers today are going to be talking about those issues also. Property taxes have skyrocketed over the past few years. People are demanding property tax relief, and I'm here to tackle this issue on behalf of hardworking, tax-paying Floridians. So as you all know, I have been traveling the state, which are DOGE, FAFO teams, on a mission to purge waste, fraud, and abuse out of local budgets and to reduce or even eliminate property taxes on homesteaded properties here in the state of Florida. Now, the sad state of affairs is local government budgets in Florida. Now, I'm holding everyone accountable here because a lot of these budgets are Republican and Democrat alike, but a lot of these budgets, almost all of them, have increased in between 60 to 120% over the past 4 or 5 years. Now, that is the general fund budget, the portion of the budget that is funded by your property taxes. And I know you all are feeling the pain. So as you can see right here on this placard to my right, to your left, I think this is very timely. We pulled this from the Tampa Bay Times. Local elected officials are already playing defense and trying to justify their wasteful, bloated budgets in saying that the increases are largely attributable to inflation and rising population, not government graft. I say BS. Our calculations beg to differ, so hold on to your hats. We are going to go through some of the spending that we have seen here in Orange County. We're going to do this with some graphics and some boards. Probably can make the joke that I'm going to be the Grady Judd of wasteful spending. $190 million, $190,643,653. According to our calculations, Orange County taxpayers are being overtaxed by this amount right here. That is an astounding amount of money. We are deeming almost $200 million of the Orange County budget excessive and wasteful. That is an amazing amount of money. Now, we actually think the number is a little bit bigger, but for our purposes, we know that this is absolutely almost $200 million excessive and wasteful spending. So, the question is, how do we get here and what can we do about it? In Orange County, over the past 5 years alone, the general fund budget, that portion of the budget which is funded by your property taxes, increased $559,151,494. That is a almost 54% increase in just the past 5 years. Your local government here is taking the money and spending it and expanding government, creating new programs that probably shouldn't be paid with your tax dollars, expanding already existing programs that are paid by your tax dollars, and just wasting it willy-nilly, because to them, it's not your money. It's not real to them. They're just seeing this as an endless trough that they can come back time and time again from the taxpayers. First, I want everyone to know that that eye-popping increase of $559 million is for a population increase of only 79,000 1,000 people. $559 million in extra spending only for 79,000 people. To put this number into context a little, Putnam County, which only has 79,000 people, their total budget for everything that they deliver in services is only $104 million. Please don't tell me that you are taking all this money and spending it wisely, because I know, and we are showing here today, that you are not. So what does this mean? This means for every single person that moved into Orange County over the past 5 years, for every single person, the budget grew by over $7,000. Now, most people don't move into an area by themselves. A lot of them move in with families. So every family of 4 that moved into Orange County, the budget grew an astounding $28,296. Now, I want everyone to think about that for a moment. A new family goes and buys a house, and let's say they're paying $5,000 a year in property taxes. So government is taking in $5,000 a year in property taxes off of this family in 4, but they're spending $28,000 to deliver services. That math is not mathing. I hope none of these people ever try to run a business because it's a surefire way to go bankrupt. They are using population increase as an excuse to expand government beyond their wildest dreams, which is turning into a nightmare for people who pay property taxes in Orange County. To make matters worse for taxpayers, take a guess how many employees that they hired over the 5 years just to accommodate for 79,000 increase in population. 661 new employees at local government to take care of 79,000 people. Now, normally, and when you look at the state, we do this, as populations increase, the cost usually goes down. There are efficiencies and economies of scale. Normally, as volume goes up, cost per unit go down. Orange County employees are getting some hefty raises too. Over the past 4 years, your local government employees have seen their salaries increase 24.5%. That is way more than the private sector, and it is about 7 to 8 times more than the raises for people living in Orange County who work for state government. And all of this does not even include benefits. This is why this number frustrates me beyond belief. The private sector is having a very hard time right now making ends meet. So if you work in the private sector, you're going out, you're realizing that costs are going up. So you're having discussions with your employer asking for raises, only to get that raise, turn it over to local government in the form of property taxes so somebody else can get even more raises than you. I find something wrong with that. The other thing I don't like is I know for a fact that our first responders, our fire and police, who are putting their lives on the line every day, fighting for wage increases, some of it just to keep up with inflation, they aren't getting these raises. But the bureaucrats in local government who are sitting behind the desk are getting these raises. I have a hard time with that. So the question is, how much are taxpayers actually being fleeced by local governments when it comes to property taxes? Today, I'm here to answer that question on behalf of Orange County taxpayers. Now, the only way to figure this out is to go back in time and start off with a baseline budget. So we chose Orange County's general fund budget for fiscal year 2019 to 2020. and we increased it every year for inflation and population to accommodate for population growth and the rising costs of goods and services. Not only did we do that, we added not one but two buffers on top of that, another 5% buffer and another 10% buffer, because government doesn't run as efficiently as a private sector. So in our numbers, we are accommodating for that factor also. So according to our calculations that we just said, that $190 million is the number over and above when you adjust for inflation, population, and a couple of buffers. Just to be clear, what I'm saying here is that once you account for population growth, inflation, hiring more police, giving police firefighters their raises, adding for government efficiency, everything, when you factor in all of that, Orange County's budget should be almost $200 million less than it is right now. Every single person in this county, whether you're a property tax owner or not, are being overtaxed to the tune of about $148 per person. If you're a taxpayer, a property taxpayer, you're paying a lot more than that. And don't even get me started with school districts. You guys are next. Trust me. This money belongs in the pockets of taxpayers, not bureaucrats who have proven to be fiscally irresponsible with your money. Now, according to our calculations, and we went through these with the Department of Commerce, Department of Revenue, we double, triple, and quadruple checked our numbers. Orange County could easily reduce the millage rate in Orange County by 0.86 mils and offer people real property tax relief. Again, I think that the number is closer to 224 million. But even with the buffers at 190 million, they could easily cut the millage rate by 0.86 mils. That is real money back in the pockets of taxpayers that have been funding this reckless, bloated budget for the last 5 years. How much will they save? Well, let's say that you have a home with a taxable value of $300,000. Maybe the market value is $350,000. After you take your exemptions, it is $300,000 taxable value. Save $257 a year. And remember, this is just the general fund budget. This is not also taking into account efficiencies that we could see in school budgets also. So when you add all of this together, you are seeing that you guys are being overtaxed to the absolute hilt. Let's say your taxable value is $400,000. You'd save $343 a year. Why are these numbers important? Because government will come out and argue that they can't cut, and the amount that they want to cut, I'm sure you see this, will always save $1, $2, $3 a year. It's because they're not trying to cut. I'm telling you right now, there is more than enough room to cut. If you have a $500,000 taxable value on your home, you're going to save $428 a year. This is real money back in the pockets, in the bank accounts of the taxpayers, and they can choose where to spend the money because the private sector is much more efficient. Let's put the money back in the communities that are actually funding this bloated budget in the first place. Talking about homesteaded property exemptions right now. I want everyone to understand how we got here. What we're seeing right now in the state of Florida is the same thing that we saw in the mid-2000s. We saw a rise in property values, a corresponding rise in property taxes, And we saw local governments take that money and expand government. We had a property tax revolt at that point, to the point where we had to add additional homestead exemptions, leading up into the Tea Party years when everyone started understanding that government spending was getting out of hand, not just at local government, but at the federal government also. Guys, remember those years? The same thing is happening right now. When property tax relief came in the mid-2000s, early 2010s, local governments had to cut their budgets substantially, and they did. And they survived. And you guys survived. Please, government, don't tell me you can't cut, because you can cut. You're just not trying. You can easily cut $190 million out of your budget right now, 0.86 mil in the property tax.
CFO Blaise Ngolia continuing to speak in Orlando, saying that he believes there's at least $200 million of Orange County budget that he calls excessive and wasteful. This news conference continuing. We're going to take a break here on Fox Local. We'll be back in just a few minutes with more here on Fox Local and on YouTube.